Yeah, Claudia. This is Jaden.
Hi, Jaden. Oh, look at Jaden. He's so little.
He's really big. Oh my gosh.
Oh, he's big.
Well, yeah, he was like 8 pounds.
Wow. So I'm Dr. Hirschberg, and I know that Dr. Bloomfield told you a little bit about me and about Healthy Steps. Was it clear to you? And I'm looking at Jaden, and all I want to do is talk about him, but I just want to give you a little bit of this background first. Did you understand what this whole Healthy Steps thing is, or do you want me to go over it for you
No,
again?
to be honest, I wasn't listening.
Yeah, you're exhausted, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I don't like to put words in your mouth, but I can only imagine.
Well, he's up all night.
Yeah, yeah.
He sleeps all day when I have to do everything.
Of
and
course,
he's up all night.
right? So we're going to talk about that. Let me just briefly explain Healthy Steps. So Healthy Steps is a program here in the pediatric practice where, to put it most simply, we're here to support you in the first 5 years of Jaden's life for whatever you need, right? Basically what we found is that, and this isn't rocket science, having a baby's really friggin' hard. And all parents really thought it was hard, and they come in to see the pediatrician, and pediatricians used to, before Healthy Steps, not have enough time to answer all the questions that parents have about their babies and toddlers, and also not have the expertise, right? They're awesome at diagnosing strep throat and rashes and other things that happen medically, and they absolutely know some about development and behavior. But they really wanted someone in the practice, part of the team, that really knew development and behavior backwards and forwards, to be an extra support when you come to the doctor. And oftentimes when moms hear about this, they're like, oh, I don't want to be part of a program, like my life is busy enough.
Well, I hope I don't have to come in extra.
Well, that's the thing. You actually don't have to do anything other than say, sure, I'm game. And then we do the rest. And all it means is when you come in to see the pediatrician, you're going to see me also. And I'm going to check in with you. And I'm going to find out how things are going with Jaden. I'm going to tell you a little bit about his development and things that might help you understand where he's at, things he's going to be able to do soon, things he may not yet be able to do down the road. I know it's hard to imagine now, but when he has eating issues potentially or behavior issues, we're already going to know each other. And I'm really just an added support to you. And you can call me anytime. I'm easier to reach than the pediatrician. I guarantee you that. And sometimes things might be going great. And I'll come in and I'll say, hey, Claudia, how are things with Jaden? And you'll say, things are terrific. I actually don't need to talk to you today. Great, right? It's really, you can use us as much as you want or as little as you want.
Okay.
How's
I'm
it sound?
game. As long as I don't have to wait extra.
Yeah, no, the waiting is a drag, and we will work very hard to make sure that doesn't happen. Because again, you've got your pediatric appointment, so I'll try and see you either right before, during. I'm hearing what you say, that you don't want me to see you after if possible, because you got places to be, so I'll do my best to do that.
Okay.
So what's it been like for you?
It's good. I mean, I love my baby and everything, but
Mhm.
he cries a lot.
Yeah.
He cries a lot, and he sleeps during the day, and I'm going to have to go back to school, so it's like, I don't know. And my mom helps me sometimes, but she works, so it's a lot. He cries a lot, and he's so greedy. He just eats and eats and eats. He's like, he can't get enough.
He's greedy, yeah, yeah. What's it like for you to feel like you've got a greedy baby?
Well, I'm exhausted.
Yeah, feeding and feeding and feeding.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get any sleep.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned that your mom is helping you. You do live with your mom?
Yeah, I live
Okay.
with my mom.
And what about baby's dad? Is baby's dad around?
Well, he comes by sometimes. He comes by. We're not together. He comes by, but I wouldn't trust him to take the baby.
Okay.
So he can't really help me very much.
Okay. So you really feel like you're kind of on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exhausting.
I mean, I wanted the baby,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
but I didn't know it was going to be,
Yeah. And sometimes in these first few weeks after having a baby, you say to yourself, well, I wanted this baby and I love this baby, and that's all true. And sometimes you wish you hadn't had the baby, and you don't love the baby in that moment. And that's all normal and okay. So if you're having any of those feelings, here's the place to talk about them, right? I would be shocked if sometimes you weren't feeling like, what have I gotten myself,
Yeah,
myself
sometimes
into?
it's kind of overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah.
But he's so cute.
I mean,
So
you
look at him, he's
hit
so
the
cute.
jackpot. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, no, Jaden is, yeah,
pretty cute.
he's pretty special. So listen, there's a couple things I'd love to talk to you about. You mentioned that he cries all the time, during the night. I want to talk about that. There's a couple things about babies' brains that I'd love to share with you if you're interested. And then a couple things that sometimes moms come in and they have heard a lot of things from their moms or from the community about babies, and I want to talk about those as well. I also know you're exhausted. You got places to be, but ideally that's what I want to cover.
That's okay. That's right. I had some time.
You do. Terrific. So where do you want to start with those three things? We've got him being fussy and crying. We've got a little bit about his brain, and we've got a little bit about some things that you might have heard about babies.
Well, the problem with his crying is that I try to get him to stop crying, but my mom says put him down, and that I'm spoiling him, and I don't want to spoil him, and I want to help him stop crying, but sometimes I can't, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing because in telling me that, you're actually hitting on some of the things that I was going to say you're hearing. So we're actually it's like 2 for 1, 2 for the price of 1. Because yeah, this idea of spoiling comes up a lot, right? You go to pick him up because he's crying and someone tells you that you're spoiling him, right? And you don't want to do that because you want a baby who grows up respectful and independent, right? Yeah, that's really hard.
I want him to be a crybaby.
Yeah. So what I can say to you is that babies cry. That's what they do, right? Babies cry. I've never met a baby who doesn't cry. They don't know how to talk. They don't know how to tell you what they need. So if anything is going on for them that they want to communicate to you, they're going to do that through crying, right? Your desire to pick him up is actually biological, right? Have you ever noticed that when he's crying and your mom tells you not to pick him up, like your heart starts beating a little faster?
Well, I don't like to hear him crying.
Yeah.
I want to get him.
Yeah.
So it's easier to pick him up than not to pick him up.
Yeah. So I've got what I hope you think is some good news, which is that not only is it okay to pick him up, it's actually the exact right thing to do.
But the problem is he's learning to cry more because when I pick him up, sometimes he stops crying.
Yeah.
And then I know I really am spoiling him.
Right. No, absolutely. And you're hitting on so many good points. So what you're saying is that he's really dependent on you. And you don't
Yes.
want him to get dependent on you.
Right.
So a couple things. One, let's say he's crying and you think that he's hungry and you give him a bottle, right? Because you're formula feeding, is
Yeah.
that right? You give him a bottle. Does he stop crying if it turns out he was hungry?
Yeah. Well, he wolfs it down in a second. Sometimes I have to get him a second.
Right.
bottle.
No, you mentioned he was greedy, and
He's
I
really
definitely
greedy.
want to return
Yeah.
to that. But he stops crying. Do you think he's spoiled because he stops crying when he gets his bottle?
No, he was hungry.
He was hungry.
Right.
Okay. So the thing about babies is that they need, and I'm using that word very carefully, they need, not just want, they need touch and to be held and to be loved and to feel safe the same way they need food.
Okay.
And they're going to cry no matter what need of theirs isn't being met. So let's say he's crying not because he's hungry, but because he has a wet diaper. If you give him the bottle, he may not stop crying because you haven't changed his diaper. But if you change his diaper, he'll stop crying, right?
Right.
One of those needs is just to feel held and to smell you, right? You're his mom. See how he's looking at you right now? What's that like when he looks at
It's
you like
awesome.
that? Yeah.
He's so angry though.
He's angry. Right
Well,
now,
he
you
never
think looks
smiles at
angry?
me.
Right. Okay. So babies actually don't smile for the first 2 months or
He
so.
smiles in his sleep.
Yeah, they do smile in their sleep, and people think, and this is very weird, and I don't know if the pediatrician would approve of my saying this word, that they're farting, that they're smiling because it's gas, and also because of just something going on in their head, but they're not aware they're smiling.
Right.
There's something called a social smile, which means they smile in response to people, and that only happens around 2 months.
Oh yeah, because sometimes he looks like a grouchy old man.
Yeah. People often say that babies look like little old men. Yeah.
He looks like, but mine's cute.
Yours is very cute. And they're not all cute. I'm
Yeah.
with you on that one. But yours is cute. Mine's cute too. So one of his needs is to be held. So if you pick him up and what he needed was to be touched, was to be held, he stops crying the same way as if he had needed some food and you gave him food, right?
That makes me feel better because I want to pick him up.
Yeah. So follow that instinct. You've got good instincts, right? You've got good instincts. I can see from the way you're looking at him, the way he's looking back at you, right? He looks really calm to me.
Yeah, well, he's calm now because
And
it's the
peaceful.
daytime.
Yeah, no, and we're going to talk about when he's not calm. Yeah, no, I know that what I'm seeing in the office is not the way he always is.
Yeah, no.
But I also know that babies who don't feel calm and safe with their moms often don't ever look like that. So the fact that he looks that way now shows that you're doing a lot of things really right.
Well, I babysat a lot.
You did?
Yeah, I
didn't
babysat
know
a lot.
that.
Well, for my little brother and my little sister.
Oh, so
my
you've
cousins.
got lots of
Yeah,
experience.
I totally know how to take care of babies.
Yeah. No, I can see. As I said, you're doing a great job. So when your mom tells you that you're spoiling him, you can say, you know what, the doctor told me that it's the right thing to do.
She probably won't listen, but I don't care what
And
she
here's
says.
the thing, you're right that he's dependent on you, and this is weird because this is actually totally different than you would think. When I first learned this, it sort of blew my mind. I don't want to get your hopes up, right? I can't promise your mind will be blown. But when I first learned, so here's the thing. You would think that if you pick up a baby and he stops crying, that he's going to end up being more dependent on you, right? That he's
Right.
going to need you more, that he's going to be clingy, right? That he's not going to be able to go
He's
off.
always and no babysitter's ever going to hold him, so then when I go back to school, he's going to be a disaster.
Right, he's only going to want
They're
to be
not
with
gonna
you.
wanna-
You're not going to be able to have your own life. You're not going to be able to take a shower, let alone leave the house. Right. That's what you would think because that's what makes sense logically. It turns out it's actually almost literally exactly the opposite. And let me explain why. Picture him when he's 2 years old. I know it's a long way from now, but he's 2 years old and you guys go to the playground together. And there's a group of kids playing in the sandbox a little bit far away. And they look like they're having a good time. And you want him to go play with those kids. Let's say he knows that if he falls and skims his knee on the way to that sandbox, you're going to come pick him up. And you're going to make him feel better, right? Because you always have. Starting on day one, you always have. When he cries, you pick him up. So let's say he knows that you're going to do that. Do you think he's going to want to go off and play with those kids?
I guess so.
I mean, yeah, he may say, I'm going to give it a shot because if it's not fun or if I fall and hurt myself or if something goes wrong, my mom's going to be there.
Yeah.
She's got my back. She's my mom, right? But let's say starting really early on, he learned that if he cries and he's upset, sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not there. Same kids are in the playground. Do you think he's going to want to go over and play with them?
I guess he might be scared.
Right. He might say, you know what, if this doesn't go well, if they're mean to me, if they grab my toy, if I hurt myself, I may not be able to find my mom. So I'm not going to risk it. I think I'm just going to hang out here with mom the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually being more clingy
Mm-hmm.
and less independent because you started trying to train him too early.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It turns out that in the whole first year, so we got, 11 more months?
Mhm.
It turns out that in the whole first year, what babies need is to feel like you're going to be there for them no matter what. And if they feel that way, that you're going to be there for them no matter what, they're much more likely to go off into the world and learn and make friends because they know, frankly, because I know you've had this experience and I have, shit may get hard,
Mhm.
right? But I got someone who's got my back.
Mhm.
I always have.
That makes sense.
Does
That makes sense. So I'm going to hold him.
Absolutely. And if your mom has an issue with that, you can tell her to call me.
Okay.
All right? I
Yeah,
can be
maybe I'll
hard.
bring
I can
her
be
next
hardcore
time.
with your mom. Absolutely. I'd love to meet your mom. How do you get along with your mom?
I don't always get along, but actually since the baby, it's been a little better.
Okay. Okay.
Because she loves the baby.
Please, I love the baby. I just met him.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to talk a little bit about, sort of the myths of, because you're going to hear that a lot, the myth of spoiling. And also, so what are we going to do when he's crying all the time, right? One thing you're going to do is hold him, right? Absolutely. But there's actually a special way of holding him when it's at night and he's really, really fussy that way. And a lot of babies, by the way, are really fussy at night and not during the day. It's just the way that it works. I promise he'll grow out of it. If you start to try to change it now, it won't work. And then you'll be frustrated and he'll be frustrated. The best thing to do is to roll with it, to try to sleep when you can, but know that he's gonna be up at night. But there's some special ways to hold him that can help.
Okay.
You wanna learn what those are?
Sure.
Okay, so it turns out there's there's a doctor named Harvey Karp, and he wrote a book called The Happiest Baby on the Block. I have it over there, and you can look at it, and it's actually not that expensive. And you can also, I don't know if you have a smartphone, but you can Google him, and we can talk about that, see some videos. But what he wrote about was how babies actually are born earlier than they used to be, right? Babies used to be born, like we're talking about thousands of years ago, much later. But the problem with that was that it was pretty dangerous for moms. I mean, you said he was 8 pounds, and how was it? Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So imagine, so evolution kicked in, and it turns out now babies are born earlier. But what he says the problem is that they still actually kind of want to be in your belly. There's something called a 4th trimester. You know how you were pregnant and you had first, second, and third trimester?
Mm-hmm.
Well, people talk about the first 3 to 4 months after the baby's born as the 4th trimester. And that babies actually wish they were still in your belly.
That's why he's hungry all the time, maybe.
Yeah, because it used to be when he was in your belly, he didn't have to do anything to eat. Like, what's this crazy nonsense about having to actually do something? Like, I want to just know that I'm hungry and it's seeping in, and right? So yeah, he's also scared, I would think, right? So you mentioned he was greedy. Babies eat all the time, in part because, you know, they're growing. They're growing, and also, again, because they're not used to having to do anything to eat. The food just goes in when they're, you know, that they get it from the placenta. So, you know, most babies eat a lot, and if they don't, that's actually when we get worried. So the things that you can do to make him stop crying at night are things that remind him of being in your belly. Okay. You with me so far?
Yeah, so far.
The good news is they all start with the letter S. So even though you're exhausted, you can hopefully remember them easier because they start with the letter S. And I'm actually going to give you a sheet of paper that has them on them so you don't have to remember. And as I said, you can also look them up online. The first one is that they need to be swaddled. Do you know what that means?
Yeah, the nurse showed me how to do that.
Do you remember how to do it?
Yeah, no, I totally know how to do that. Like, you wrap them up really tight.
Really tight. And actually, maybe, you know, if he starts fussing a little bit, we could do it together. So the first is swaddling, and that reminds them of being in your stomach when it was really tight. And they couldn't move their legs, and they couldn't move their arms, right? And you want to make sure, it's hard, you want to make sure they're not too tight. There's a little bit of breathing room. And it's a tricky thing to find, so I'll show you how to do that. Maybe I know you know how to do it, but I'll maybe show you my way, and then we can figure out. First is swaddle. The second is side position, right? So when babies are awake, we want to hold them so they're looking into our eyes. But when they're in your belly, they're actually on their side. You know, they're curled up like this. Remember from the pictures? So you want to hold him facing out, right? So you've got his ear up. Exactly. Perfect. You're a fast learner. So that's the second one, is the side position. The third is swinging. So you want to actually swing him back and forth, right? Okay. And there's different ways you can do that this way. You can do that this way. But when you were pregnant, do you remember when he was the most active in your belly? What time of day?
At night.
At night, right? So what were you doing during the day? Was he quiet?
Yeah, because I was up and about.
You were walking around.
Yeah.
Babies like that movement. It calms them down. So that motion is to help calm them down, right? The third is, I'm sorry, that was 3. The fourth is shushing. Shushing means, people sometimes say, oh, don't be quiet, you're going to wake the baby. Babies like a loud shushing noise. So I'm not talking about like shh, 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 shh. I'm talking shh.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes they do that.
Does he like it?
I think so.
Yeah. You know why?
No.
So it's actually really loud in your belly when you're pregnant. All that fluid, the amniotic fluid, is rushing around. It's actually as loud as 2 blow dryers. Yeah. Seriously, 2, right? This is going to sound crazy, but sometimes if your baby's crying really loud, you can turn on a blow dryer. You can turn on an air conditioner. You can turn on a vacuum. That noise helps. Okay. And then the 5th one is sucking, right? Does he have a pacifier?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, right. So if you do those 5 things at the same time, and I'm not going to quiz you on what they are, right? But I'm just going to go through it again. It's the swaddling, the side position, the swinging, the shushing, and the sucking. If you do those 5 things all at once, oftentimes the sixth S happens, and that's sleeping. And that means
I'm totally gonna
when
try
he
it.
sleeps, who else gets to sleep?
Yeah, I'm totally gonna try it.
Yeah, okay, awesome. And again, there's videos, when you put him down a little bit at the end, I'll show you on your phone,
Okay.
how to get a video of this, so if you forget in the middle of the night, but that's what I would recommend for his fussiness. Okay, okay. So, we're running out of time. There's actually a questionnaire that I want to do with you, if it's okay. Do you have any other questions for me? And remember, I'm always here, so if you don't think of anything else now.
Well, you were gonna tell me about brain development.
I was going to tell you about brain development, and I love how interested you are in that.
I'm really curious
Right.
about brain development.
I was going to tell you about brain development. And actually, just without a doubt, I forgot to do that, but also this is getting long for what we have.
Right.
And it may well be at this point, and the reason I said we're running out of time is because it started to feel like, wow, this is usually the max amount of time that I have. I may push off brain development till the next visit, right? It's not essential. But
For my baby.
for the purposes of this. Right, so brain development. So babies are learning so much at this stage. Their brains are still developing, right? So we think they are born and they're done developing, forget it, like what you see is what you get. No way. And in particular, their brains are developing. And the way they think about things and the way that they process the world. And that's why it's really important, as I said, that they feel safe. That's a really important way that helps with brain development. One of the most important things you can do to help your baby's brain develop the way we want it to is to respond when he makes a gesture, right? So it's almost like throwing a ball. Like, let's say, and at this age, his gestures are going to be really little. We already said he's not smiling at you yet, right?
Right.
But he might go, nah, right? Or he might go, right? Little gesture. That's him throwing a ball. It's like, Mom, catch the ball, right? So you want to be paying enough attention to him that you notice he threw that ball, and then you throw it back, and you respond in some way, right? So you say, oh, Jaden, look, you're making a sweet little noise, right? Or you make the same noise, right? If he goes, and you can go, oh. Something that you're throwing the ball back, and we call that, and it's a tennis thing. I don't know how much you know about tennis, but you can also think about it just throwing the ball back and forth. In tennis, it's serve and return. With catching, it's just throwing and catching and throwing and catching, and that's how the brain develops, that give and take, right?
Well, I talk to him.
Awesome.
I do talk to him.
Awesome. What do you talk about?
I talk about, well, I was going to say something about his father, but I talk to him about that he's so cute.
Yeah.
And I talk about that.
Oh, and I bet he loves to hear that. I bet he feels so like.
Sometimes he looks at me. Sometimes he doesn't look at me, but sometimes he looks
Yeah,
at me.
he's like, Mommy, I'm only a month old. My eyes hurt too much when I look at you. I gotta close them right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes my muscles aren't that strong back here. I can't hold. I'm gonna slip over here, but I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear
think
every
he hears,
word
I
you're
think
saying.
He hears me.
He does. And it's not too early to start talking. That's how he's gonna learn language. So the more you talk to him, actually, the better. So you do know how to take care of babies.
I told you.
I know. You know your stuff. I had said we were gonna stop. There is a questionnaire I want to do with you, and it's a questionnaire that I give to all moms when they come into Healthy Steps. Though actually, we will have done, or no, we won't actually. So, I'm sorry. So I'm thinking to myself what we are with the model. So most patients are going to get a 2-month screen that's an ACEs screen. But if they haven't been given that, which at the 1-month visit, I do want to do it with them because this mom's already in Healthy Steps, and if I can do it, clinician, the better, right? I'm not going to do it right now, but I'll show you how I introduce it. So there's a questionnaire I want to do with you. Do it with all moms that come into Healthy Steps. It's a little bit personal. And it's about you, right? So it's a little weird because you're here with the pediatrician, you're here with Jaden. It's like, well, this is about Jaden. Why are you interested in me? And we're interested in you because you're pretty important in this whole picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're his mom. You're like his number one person. And it turns out that some of the things that you may have gone through as a child can actually really have an impact on the way that you are as a mom.
Okay.
And so the reason that we want to know about those things in advance is so that we can sort of work with you and come up with ways to work with Jaden so that we know, sorry, I'm like my brain is slowly frying, and I my brain is just like, but so that we can work with you on being sort of the best mom that you can be, right? And that can be hard sometimes when you haven't necessarily looked at your childhood in a certain way.
Yeah, well, I want it better for him.
You do?
Yes,
So
for sure.
was your childhood not quite the way? Okay. So what I would say here is, why don't you tell me a little bit about your childhood, and then I would fill out the ACEs sort of as I was doing that. If she hadn't said that, I would have said, I'm going to ask you some questions. They might seem weird. I would have sort of emphasized that. And then at the end of the visit, that would be that. Again, that's a long visit. Chances are that would be split up between two. Let's say the 1 month and the 2 month, 2 week and 4 week. Before I sort of open it up, Amy and Laura, anything else that you do in that visit differently or that you'd add to?
When I talk about brain development, and I talk about the serve and return, I talk about why TV is the opposite of serve and return. So I usually talk about why if you put a baby in front of the TV, they're going to watch it and you're going to think, oh, fabulous, they love TV, because they're going to stare at it, but that it actually doesn't stimulate their brain. That it's really the response to whatever they're saying, and the TV doesn't respond. So I usually talk about that.
Questions, thoughts?
The other thing is just baby blues, sort of normalizing maternal stress, sort of talking about this sort of postpartum hormonal experience and sort of the mood swings that you might experience and what to look out for baby blues turning into postpartum depression, and encouraging them to follow up with us and call anytime if they feel like it's
Absolutely.
becoming
And as you
depression.
can see already from their points, like, you can't hit all of it,
Right.
You
It's a
just
lot.
can't. So you may walk away, as I would have at this time, and been like, oh, postpartum depression, They're coming back, right? She's coming back. And frankly, if I had noticed that she looked depressed, I would have hit it, right? And so between everything I talked about, what Laura just mentioned and what Amy just mentioned, there's just no way that you would have hit all of that. So you sort of pick and choose based on sort of following her lead, but also knowing the main points. I want to talk about the spoiling at that first time I meet the mom every time. That, for me, never, that's
Right.
always.
And almost, I would say 90% of our parents believe that if they pick up the baby when they're crying, they're spoiling the baby. At least our clinic, I would
Ours
say.
too is definitely
Yeah,
Like
100%.
it's a huge
It's
topic
a huge topic.
throughout the first year.
You introed it as, the idea to me was like myths that you've heard, right? And then you hit on spoiling. What are the other like top 2, 3, 4 things that a lot of parents have heard that you dispel?
Putting
Promise.
cereal in the bottle will get them to sleep better. That's big in the Latino community.
Putting all food in the bottle.
Right, putting all food in the bottle, but in the beginning, that because he's not sleeping at night, I'm going to put some cereal in the bottle. That's something that I would have hit on, and I'll potentially hit on if that comes up. Other myths are that you can start to sleep train now. That babies don't, sometimes the babies don't know what's going on around them, so it's okay if I put them in front of the TV. It's okay if I say bad things about dad because they're just a baby.
They don't have memories, they're not really
Right.
impacted by their
Right.
environment. Positive attention spoils, not just picking up, but sort of
Right, the cuddling, the
praise
baby
and
cuddling.
cuddling.
A lot of that is
doting.
cultural too.
Absolutely.
Mhm. Talk about motherese, sometimes not always here at parentees that, that's actually babies respond better to talking in that way, model it sometimes, or have them do, and we didn't have an actual baby, and so I didn't do it probably as much as I would have in the session, but a lot of pointing out the interaction. Look how he's looking at you. When you talk, he's just hanging on your every word, right? And often speaking for the baby is a big intervention I use. So when she talked about not looking at him, that she's not looking at her, saying, "Mommy, my eye muscles aren't developed," right? Instead of his eye muscles aren't that developed. Saying, "Mommy, I want to look at you. I love looking at you, but my eye muscles aren't that developed." Kate.
I also hear a lot, he just doesn't want me to have any fun. Or he just really doesn't
Right.
want me to sleep. He just is trying to make my day
Mhm.
go.
Right.
Intentionality.
Right.
Intentionality
Right.
of the baby's cry to bother the mom, or that
Right.
dad or the baby's giving me the finger. It's like,
Right. Right, so it's like, right,
Right,
there's
the greedy
misattributions
thing.
of intent and misattributions of, misattributions of intent, and what's the other one, of behavior. And trying to correct those. However, I sometimes I try and it's hard. You don't always want to correct it right away. So I said, what's it like having a greedy baby?